Hello friends, welcome you all to the columns analysis of the Hindu newspaper. Today we will be discussing two important columns. One is about the political development in Singapore, which has recent elections in Singapore, and second is about protectionist policy of Trump administration regarding visas that are being allotted or that are being issued to the students for having online courses in the America. So let's start with the first column, which is about protectionist policy of America. So recently Trump administration had to backtrack from one of the decision or policy diktat taken by their immigration and enforcement department regarding issuance of the visas to students who are taking online courses from the fall of 2020. So here what this column says, it says Trump must deliver on jobs, not engage in rhetoric on visas to stay in office, wherein United States of America will be going for presidential elections in the month of November. So for this purpose, Trump must focus on jobs, he must focus on economy, he must focus on COVID-19 pandemic, and most importantly, he must take care of all fiscal measures of his economy to stay in office, where it can be seen that he is losing the ground in last 6 months. So what the first line of this column says, it says, market forces and common sense appear to have triumphed over narrow-minded economic protectionism in US on student visas. Basically, for UPSC mains, you can use this particular recent move of Trump administration in economic protectionism. See here, two important countries which are continuously involved in economic protectionism. One is China and second is USA. So you can use these case studies while writing your answers, your essay, and also your interview answers. So recent immigration policy diktat was being scrapped by judge, and Trump administration had to backtrack that particular decision. So it would no longer issue visas to university students in programs involving a substantial online component starting in the fall of 2020 semester. So this was the decision of Trump administration, which they had to backroll. Now this particular thing was being challenged by various universities and was being joined by Harvard University, MIT, and over 200 other universities. And if this decision was followed, if this decision was accepted by the federal court, in that case there was a risk of deportation to all foreign students, also various other students who were involved in higher studies. They had to stand abroad without any option for the taking education. Now, the universities who joined this particular legal challenge against the Trump administration's diktat, they said that this policy of immigration or protectionism described this policy as cruel and illegal. This particular immigration policy, it undermined the effort of the universities to create a safe online based learning system amidst the raging pandemic. So this was the case. So that's why this particular thing was opposed by almost all important universities in the United States of America. Now, though international students and universities might have won the case, but this particular issue is open for further appeal, and Trump administration might impose additional restrictions. So universities as well as students have to remain alert to the possibility of additional restrictions that could be foisted onto the entry process at the future date. You can just understand the quantum of students who will be taking this online course. Around international students, possibly up to 2 lakh across the US, will be barred from taking purely online courses while living in the country. So this could affect their prospects of taking education, and they would be unnecessarily stranded in the United States of America. So judge said that the case is open. It implies that the argument could be made against the additional restriction that are being put by Trump administration in the days to come. So this particular way shows that there can be new rays of hope for making this online education more open and creating a kind of fight against the protectionist policy of the Trump administration. Now here, what are the takeaways for Mr. Trump? So there is pressure on him to perform and deliver during what he probably considered the hardest year politically for his first term. He is facing sharp legal backlash in the realm of immigration policy, not only for the student but also for H1 visas which are being issued for the skilled workers. Third, his job approval rating are on the decline in the face of government's mismanagement of policy to contain the spread of COVID-19, where assurance of getting job was the most important core of his voting pattern. So here he is on the back foot. And also there is increase in racial tensions in the America. Also, his opponent from Democratic Party, Joe Biden, is trying to capitalize on Mr. Trump's failings and find a path to victory in November's presidential election. So this was most important takeaway, that he should not give way to the Joe Biden. Trump is unlikely to back down from his broader protectionist impulse for fear of alienating core of his base, that is his own local people. But most importantly, he must address the precarious state of US macroeconomy through various fiscal measures. Providing relief to tens of millions of workers who have lost their livelihood through this crisis should be the first priority of Trump if he wants to retain office of American president for second consecutive terms. Second is Pyrrhic victory. What is meaning of Pyrrhic victory? A victory that is being earned by a person at a great loss. For example, if you won a fort, but while winning this particular fort you lost 100 people, then this will be called as a Pyrrhic victory. Or let's say we have a very strong lockdown, and through this lockdown in 1 month we are able to control the entire coronavirus pandemic. But the lockdown was so harsh that we lost almost 1 lakh lives out of hunger and poverty. So this is victory of controlling pandemic, but the loss of almost 1 lakh lives, that's why it is called as Pyrrhic victory. That is a victory which comes at a substantial losses, which is being offset by substantial losses, is a Pyrrhic victory. So same happened in case of Singapore recent election, where the government got super majority, that is government People's Action Party won almost 83 of the 93 seats, right? So this is one of the super majority, but this majority comes at a very high cost looking at the pandemic. And what are the reasons are there why this victory is called as Pyrrhic victory, and what all reforms should be taken by the Singaporean government is being discussed in this column. The line says, the reduced majority is an opportunity for Singapore's ruling party to initiate reform. So it means Singapore, which is a city state, it must start reforming on various dimensions, on various aspects. So what are those aspects? Let's go into it. Singapore's People's Action Party. Remember, People's Action Party is the most important party of Singapore. It is the single largest party. It is the party in power since Singapore separated from Malaysia, or since Singapore being established as a democratic nation. This People's Action Party is the most important party, which is being headed by Lee Hsien Loong, and this particular majority says that he needs to reinvent itself. Winning a super majority in the general elections on July 10, as the leadership has set in motion a succession plan. What is meaning of succession plan? So Mr. Lee Loong will be giving baton of the prime ministerships to the recent finance minister in the year 2022. But in this particular election, it is seen that the majority of the People's Action Party, which is the most important or single largest party of the Singapore, has gone down. So that's why they need to reinvent themselves. They need to look inward towards reforming the things. Now, People's Action Party, it is the face of Singapore's managed democracy since 1965. The party got almost 61% votes, which 61% votes, it means they got 83 out of 93 seats. In 2015, party got almost 69.9 seats, and 2015 was the commemoration of 50 years of Singapore's independence, and in the aftermath of death of country's founder and Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew. Lee Kuan Yew is the father of current Prime Minister Lee's father. And they had worst performance in 2011, where they got only 60% votes. So here it can be seen that the party is getting down and down. Also, why it is called as Pyrrhic victory? Their vote margin has gone down, their number of seats has gone down, and despite where they conducted these elections in the pandemic era, elections were called months ahead of schedule, means they were called very many days before the scheduled dates of elections, and COVID-19 restrictions denied the opposition even the normal, if highly limited, channels to outrage during the 9-day campaign period. So opposition could not do much thing, but despite all these difficulties, opposition had won almost 10 seats. That's why it is called as a Pyrrhic victory. Now, here in this case, Mr. Lee, the current Prime Minister, he acknowledged the real meaning of PAP's reduced majority. Now, what is the very important statement of Mr. Lee? Mr. Lee says that why their margin has reduced, why their number of seats has reduced. He says that he described this particular reduced margin as a reflection of the desire of younger voter for greater diversity of voices in the parliament. So, this is the positive side that Mr. Lee is looking at. Now, the opposition party, there is only one party, that is Workers' Party. Worker Party's chief, Mr. Pritam Singh, will be formally recognized as a leader of opposition for the first time. Singapore's legislature is unicameral legislature. You must be knowing Indian parliament is a bicameral legislature having two houses. In case of Singapore, there is only one house. In India, we have two houses in the parliament. One is Lok Sabha, second is Rajya Sabha. In Singapore, there is only one house, that is unicameral legislature. Now this Workers' Party, it got 10 seats and they are up from 6 seats in 2015. It is highest ever seats that are being won by any opposition party since the year 1965. Now Singapore, which is being one party state, Workers' Party opposition won its first parliamentary seat in 1981, and that is almost 16 years after the Singapore's separation from Malaysia. So, another important concern for Mr. Lee is the slender or very thin margin of victory for the country's Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Heng Swee Keat, who is tipped to succeed Prime Minister in the year 2022. It means Mr. Heng Swee will be taking charge from Mr. Lee in the year 2022, but he won with very less margin. So, this is cause of concern. Why it is cause of concern? Because there is one important tradition in Singaporean polity. We'll come to this point later on. What is that Singaporean tradition? Singapore's customary method of settling leadership question behind the closed door would sooner rather than become a subject of public debate. It means the leaders of the, or who shall be the Prime Minister of Singapore, is being decided back the door. There is no democratic election of the head of the political party. So that's why this is cause of concern for Mr. Lee, where he said that Mr. Heng Swee Keat will be Prime Minister in 2022, but he got just this small amount of margin to win the election. So this is a cause of concern. Now, before handing over charge to Heng Swee Keat, Mr. Lee has to look after many things. He has to fix an economy which is in recession. He has to continue to fight the coronavirus, and most importantly, he has to adapt himself to the winds of political changes which are going on through the Singapore. Now, here one important term is being used, that is democratization of polity of the Singapore. How the polity of Singapore can be democratized? So, there need to change the Singapore's customary method of settling the leadership question behind the closed door, and it must be brought into openly into the public. It should be a part of public debate to decide who should be the Prime Minister, who should be the head of the state. This is a sign of evolving society where economic affluence is there, citizen recognize the value. Despite having economic influence, citizen recognize the value of greater political participation for its own sake and regard respect for dissenting opinion as a necessary concomitant. So, Singapore's political leadership should read the mandate correctly and fast track the country's democratization process. So, thank you very much. This can be used as a case study in your political science and international relations optional. So, keep watching. Thank you very much. Have a good day.